You know, there's actually three kinds of people in the world. No kidding. Those that believe there's a God, those that don't believe there's a God, and then those who are sort of on the fence. They don't know one way or the other. First group, maybe we'll address toward the end. The second group, those who believe there is no God, like to talk to those first. Now, I have friends out there that are atheists that don't believe there's a God and that kind of thing. I don't mean no offense to anyone. But most of those people who don't believe there is a God, simply by their own choosing, they just choose not to believe that way. There's no real scientific proof, and it's literally impossible to prove there is no God. For the most part, those who believe there is no God follow that as a theory. So scientifically, there's no factual evidence. And to each his own, for sure. The third group, they are the ones who are on the fence. They consider, maybe more the agnostic, they consider the possibility that there might be a God and there might not be. And for the most part, could care less one way or the other. And then, of course, like I said, the first group that we talked about, those that do believe, a lot of those are on misconceptions because of the simple fact that they're believing what they've been taught, not necessarily because they have any proof either. So you've got those that don't believe because they can't find proof that there is, basically. Then you have those that are on the fence that would probably like to know one way or the other. And then those who, again, that do believe there's a God of some sort, which is interesting. And let me throw a few things at you real quick and just see what you think here. You know, explaining God or the existence of is like trying to tell a child about the wind or the air. We can explain to them that it's there, but you can't see it. You can see what it does. You can watch the trees move and the leaves. You can feel the breeze on your cheek. And you can even see when it picks up dirt and dust and creates tornadoes. I mean, the wind comes and goes. To explain that to a child, well, you know, yeah, you can feel it. You can feel it, and you can see what it does, but you can't see it exactly. And within that wind or the air is oxygen, which we breathe. In other words, we have to have that to live, to survive. And we exchange breath with the trees, you know, that breathes out oxygen, which we breathe in, and then we breathe out is it carbon dioxide or monoxide, whichever it is, and the trees breathe that in. It's pretty neat. We exchange breath with the trees. But to explain that to a child, they just can't fathom that concept. But they'll take your word for it. They'll believe it and move on. And we all know that the wind is there. It really is. The air is there, and the molecular structure in it is full of all kinds of things like oxygen, the different molecules and stuff. And the deeper you study into it, once you come to the concept that it's there even though we can't see it, you can actually get in there and study and find out more and more and more about it and break it all down scientifically and prove even more so. I could tell you about an artist by the name of Van Gogh. Some of you who are into the arts and things like that, you know, may know who that is. Some may not, actually. Ironically, I would think everyone would know who Van Gogh is, but he was considered one of the greats. And I could tell you, if you'd never heard of him, that Van Gogh was a great artist. I could even show you his works, some of the great paintings. One of his most famous was The Blue Man, which was a self-portrait. There's also my favorite is called Starry Night, or Starry Night, you know. But I could show you his works and tell you all about him. There's books written about him, and different documentaries have been done on him and about his life and all of these different things. I think there may even be some photographs of him somewhere. The point is you would just have to take my word for it because you don't know him. I could even take you on an archaeological dig, and we could go to his grave, or even take you on the way to some of the museums, which would be considered memorials, places where they're displaying his work. But we could go on that dig and exhume his remains and look at those, and I could say, hey, these bones belong to Van Gogh. This is Vincent Van Gogh. And you would still almost have to take my word for it, because, well, if you're a true skeptic, well, it may not be enough to prove anything to you. Even though many know of his work and all that he does, you still could be skeptical that maybe this isn't really Vincent Van Gogh's remains. Maybe he didn't exist. Maybe somebody else painted it or whatever. And one last thing, real quick. Consider if maybe you were some sort of alien, if you will. And I'm not talking like over a border or from another country. I'm talking like maybe interplanetary. And again, this is a hypothetical thing. Put yourself in the situation as being dominant, being superior to us humans. And maybe you're this interdimensional being, or whichever, interplanetary, and you've come and landed in my backyard. And you ask me, like the movie Take Me to Your Leader. And of course, upon your arrival, being superior and having critical thinking and rational thinking abilities above and beyond the human mind, you would be very skeptical of anything that I might say. As a matter of fact, upon first seeing me in my backyard, you might start to question whether there's any intelligent life on this planet. But neither here nor there. You ask me about who's the leader. And I tell you right away that there are many leaders. Oh, wow, now you just think I'm beating around the bush. Maybe I'm the leader and just trying to save my skin from getting zapped, I guess, or something. And so you're very skeptical. And I explain to you that depending on the hierarchy of government, there are different levels of leaders. There are leaders all over the world, leaders of different nations, such as in Canada, they have what they call the Prime Minister, and they have in Russia, the Putin nation, if you will. You have Israel with Benjamin Netanyahu. You have Iran and Iraq and all these different places. And here in the U.S., it's the Obama nation. And Mr. Obama is the president here. He's the highest office held. And so you, as this master skeptical alien, could say, well, I don't necessarily know if that's true, or you may not believe me. And until I actually took you and introduced you to Mr. Obama, you may think, well, maybe he doesn't exist at all. Maybe this is a farce, because we don't have no particular global leader or representative at this moment. Now, for you being the skeptical, intelligent alien, understanding the hierarchy and concepts, if I took you and introduced you to the president, then you would say, oh, okay, so this is the guy. And as you got to know him, you would come to the realization that, yes, he truly does exist, that this is the leader or representative of the nation you've landed in. Now, I said all of that to say this, that you can have proof beyond a shadow of a doubt of whether God exists or not. And you can do it in 5 easy steps. Okay, 5 easy steps if you really want to know. Step number 1, you got to want to know. You got to really want to meet somebody. I couldn't take you on a blind date if you didn't want to meet the person. It's not going to happen. You either have to have it in your mindset that you really want to find out if there's a God, or if you want to believe there's a God, if you want to meet God, okay? The majority of you can't do that because you're so set in your mind, or the way you've been programmed, or the way you've thought yourself. You can't go to that extreme. Step number 1. First of all, you got to want to believe. You got to seek to find, right? You got to really want to know. Not just as an experiment to separate oxygen from the air or from water or wherever it is. Not an experiment. This is real. You either want to know or you don't. And why wouldn't you want to know? If you could actually have contact with what many refer to as the prime creator. Oh yeah, there's many gods. But I'm talking about the one at the top, the one that's made everything, the big kahuna, the number one God, the creator of all things. If you could actually communicate with him. Wouldn't you want to? Wow, of course. And if you're on the fence, one of that group 3 that don't know one way or the other, why wouldn't you want to find out, right? So, step 1, you got to want to know. You got to really want to know. Not skeptical, but you got to want to know. Okay, step number 2. If you really are willing to find out, because this can be scary. Right here, step 1's thrown out most people, but step number 2, go and read the book of Proverbs. Now, I would suggest the 16:11. I'm not talking about reading it on the computer. I'm talking about actually getting the book. Get the paper book. Read Proverbs. It's like chapter, I think maybe 31 chapters. Don't quote me. 30, 31. Read that. Read the book of Proverbs, start to finish. But when you're reading it, you got to remember step 1. Step 1, you're thinking in your mind, I really want to know if there is a God. I want to know the truth about God. I want to know why everybody seems to think there's a God. I want to know. I want to know God. And while you've got step 1 constantly in your brain, do step 2. Read Proverbs from the beginning to the end. You may have to go back and do it over. If at any point that you mess up on the steps 1 through 5, then you're going to have to go back and redo. But always remember, step 1 has to stay in your mind, that you really are searching for the truth. You want to find out. Step 2, read Proverbs. Okay, it's a book of wisdom. You may not get it all. Not everybody's really able to do that, but it's a pretty simple read, and it's got a lot of good things in it. But remember, you're searching. You got to look everywhere. Why knock it if you haven't tried it, right? It's like something you eat for the first time. It's like, oh, no, I don't like that, just the way it looks. And then you taste it, it's like, okay, not so bad, maybe. Right? Okay, so you got to try it. You got to go for it. Step 1, you got to want to know. You got to want to know. Step 2, read the book of Proverbs while remembering step 1. Step 3, go and read the book of John in the New Testament. Now, Proverbs in the Old Testament, read it in the New Testament. Again, try and go to 16:11. It's the most poetic, probably. Just read it, okay? Don't go in there skeptical. Just read it. How hard is that? It's like any book. I mean, how many times did you read a story in school that you didn't want to read, right? So, go in there and read it. Now, you've read Proverbs. Then you go, step 3, read John. St. John. It's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Read St. John. Read it all the way through, okay? Always remembering step 1. Now, after step 3, go to step 4. Step 4 is read the book of Matthew, okay? Which is the first of those 4 Gospels. Read all of Matthew. You're going to find out some differences in there because you got 2 different points of view, 2 different perspectives, but just read it. You want to find out. Hey, you can't knock it. If you don't believe there's a God, then you've already blown step 1 because that means you just don't want to know. Okay? So step 1, you got to want to know. You got to go searching. You got to want to find out the truth, right? And in your mind, the whole time you're thinking, I want to know God. I want to know the truth about God. I want to know. Read Proverbs. Step 2. Step 3, read the book of John. Step 4, read the book of Matthew. Okay? In that order now, and read them. And I'm not just saying, it's going to take you some time. You're going to have to meditate upon it. Always remembering step 1. Now, real quick. Step 4, told you read the book of Matthew. Step 5. This is where it gets technical. After you've read those, if you've kept step 1 in, go and find your place somewhere away from everybody, away from everything. Forgetting everything you've been taught, forgetting everything you've already learned, except for what you've just read. Okay? Always remembering step 1. You're searching. You're seeking. Step number 5, real simple. Find you a place. Go and get down on your knees somewhere where there ain't nobody around to bother you, ain't nobody around to talk to you. Turn off all music distractions and all of that. Just quiet time, maybe out in nature even. And go out there and cry out to God. Our Father in heaven. In the heavens or anything up here above us in the stars and that kind of thing. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Make yourself known to me, please. Call out to him and talk to him just like you would your friends. Talk to him like you would give him honor. I mean, he is the creator. And talk to him. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see. Ask him to make himself known to you. If you've gone with step 1 and you have a pure heart, a true heart, all the way through, and you've maintained all those steps all the way through, and you really want to know him, you really want to know the truth, you cry out to him and repent. Say, Father, forgive me. Forgive me. For I have sinned. I have fallen short. I'm just a human, How dumb are we humans? Really? If you really want to know, simple 5 steps to prove God exists. It's real. You go out there and talk to him. He'll make himself real to you. He will if you really have the true intent and heart. He knows your heart. So if you're just out here to try and pull a gag or play a game, do some sort of little magic ceremony, but simple, 5 steps. If you can do that, always keeping number 1 step in your mind. Doggone, by the time you get through number 5, you'll probably be a believer too. I love y'all. Keep saying your prayers.